Welcome back to the Hit Squad. Chad Range alongside Jesse Finney. And it is time for the Knuckle Junkies question. This segment brought to you by the Knuckle Junkies. We want to know what you have to say. As always, hitsquad at 101sports.com. The email at hitsquad101ESPN is the Twitter handle. And let's dive right into this. The Knuckle Junkies always have such great questions. MMA fighter Leonardo Suha died last Thursday while cutting weight for a Shoot Brazilian 43 card in Rio de Janeiro. Fiola was at the official weigh-ins when he passed out and died moments later. How serious of an issue is cutting weight? What steps could be made to make sure this thing doesn't happen in the UFC or other pro levels or amateur levels? There's high school kids who cut weight to make wrestling. So
I think that, you know, this is a real dangerous time right now. Something needs to be done about this. And I think that really the only way you're really going to be able to do something like this is to say, listen, your weigh-ins are going to be an hour before you fight. Okay, so everybody, you know what, that means get in the best shape of your life. Get in the best shape of your life, and then equally see where you're going to be at. And you know what? And that's really the only way I can see something like this happening. It's a worldwide problem, and just from youth kickboxing, youth wrestling, boxing. I could go on and on. And this is a problem that needs to be addressed. And I think that hopefully the UFC steps up and does something about this. And because there's guys, and including myself, that when I was fighting, it was brutal, man. I was cutting 22 pounds a day before a fight, and I look back at it and think, man, that was really stupid. But you know what? Just like life, you're thinking right here and you're not thinking long term. And I got to tell you something: if people can really sit back and learn something from this, I hopefully the UFC steps up and does something for this.
Is this just a situation where a guy who's really big was cutting down really small? Because it is crazy. I have seen guys who fight at like 145,
right,
and then the next day, when they have the weigh-ins, like you said, the day before, they make the weight, and then turn around, and then by the time they're fighting, they're up to 160. You know what I mean? Yeah, well, I mean, 20 pounds more.
You know, this is a real issue, and the thing is what this is. There's smart ways to cut weight, and there's ways to not cut weight. And if you don't have someone around you who really knows how to cut weight effectively, I didn't say, that it's the correct thing to do, but effectively, you know what? There's something that, it's life,
Yeah, obviously, it's life or death. It can absolutely, it's absolutely life or death.
I hate even to mix words like that, but really, that's what's really, something needs to be done.
So get with a pro, someone who has been in the fight game or wrestling game,
you know what?
Or someone who has had to cut weight.
Just because cutting weight works for one guy, that doesn't mean it's going to work for the other guy. Everybody's got their own method to their madness.
Know your body.
Know your body, and I also would recommend that, if you're in the amateurs, man, listen, if you're in the amateur and you're an amateur fighter out there, fight a weight class up, do what you got to do, but there's no reason to be cutting all this weight. If you're cutting maybe 8-10 pounds a day before maximum, but if you're cutting 15 to 20 pounds, you're only doing more damage to your body.
Yeah, interesting, good stuff. Thank goodness I don't have any weight I have to cut. Well, we've talked about this on the show and when we were on the radio show, and something I have kept an eye on is Glory Kickboxing. Glory is the world's #1 kickboxing organization. It was in Los Angeles over the weekend with Glory number 10. The event was broadcast live on CBS Sports Network, considered by many to be a media success. Things obviously went well. Will high-level kickboxing, Muay Thai, ever be embraced the way MMA is embraced in combat sports?
I hope so. And you can understand something. If you're a fight fan, you should be a fan of Glory. If you're a fight fan, you should be a fan of mixed martial arts. You should be a fight fan of boxing. I think that it should be, and I think that it will be over time. And I got to tell you something. I've said this for years, and I think that the people with Muay Thai, or it's kickboxing, or it's international rules kickboxing, there's so many phrases of how you want to say, and there's so many styles of kickboxing. Listen, I think that kickboxing needs to unite and say, listen, there's kickboxing. Give us one set of rules. So everybody can understand those, okay?
All right.
Not just a fan of Muay Thai or a fan of kickboxing or a fan of international. Listen, become a kickboxing and go with one set of rules, just like mixed martial arts does. It's called unified rules. And all of a sudden become kickboxing fans.
All right.
And I've said this on numerous occasions, and I've spoke to a lot of kickboxing guys out there that are friends of mine, and a lot of people have the same opinion of that. So let's hope that they do, and let's hope that we can get Glory here sometime here in the near future to St. Louis.
Absolutely.
Wink,
I
wink.
worked with the World Combat League, which was a lot like kickboxing and Muay Thai. There was no takedowns, no anything like that on the ground. Straight stand-up, kickboxing, knees. It was great. I thought it was a fantastic,
Exciting.
fan-friendly, exciting sport. And I think what Glory is doing is exactly what you said. They're the league, and this is going to be their rules. Now they've just got to market it, make sure they have good fights, and it sounds like it went really well.
Let me say this: if Glory doesn't go in the United States, okay,
It's not
you're not going to see kickboxing in our lifetime.
So there
Cut
you
and
go.
dry. That's how much
It's
money's
that
behind
easy.
these guys, and I know these guys pretty well. And let me say something: if these guys are doing it right, and if they don't do it, okay, no one else in our lifetime is going to do it.
That's the way it is. Absolutely. I would agree to that. Moving on, do you think it was right that Yushin Okami was cut by the UFC, labeled a gatekeeper? Okami's 18-fight run in the UFC resulted in a 13-5 record, 3-1 in his last 4.
Well, the UFC is looking for the next superstar at all times, and at the same time, if you get caught in the contract negotiations, if he had a higher contract, which he did, they're not going to pay for a gatekeeper to be making that much money. And at the end of the day, they probably will end up re-signing him maybe after 2 or 3 fights and keep him as the same gatekeeper, but probably not as much money. So it all comes down to it. Do I think that he is a top 10 fighter in the world at 185? I actually do, and I think that this is actually really good for her as a gatekeeper, but at the same time, they don't want their superstars getting beat by a gatekeeper either. So, I mean, they're trying to bring up a 185er that's going to be a up-and-coming little stud, and then all of a sudden he gets beat by a gatekeeper. There's a problem.
Expand on the term gatekeeper.
Gatekeepers, so they can get into the top 5 to 8, top 5 and
So it's not a
levels.
superstar, but a guy who definitely deserves to be
You gotta
there.
beat
And
him
if
to get
you
into
beat
him.
him,
Now you
then
can
you're
become-
on your way. That's kind
Absolutely,
of where
yep.
that's got, which is pretty impressive with a 13-5 record, as he said, 3-1 in his last 4
And he
fights.
fought all the tough guys in the world, man. So let's not forget. This.
Yeah, I mean that's hats off to him. Like you said, I think we'll see him again in the UFC.
I hope so, and I hope that he learns from this as well, man, because you know what? You can be promised at the very end, oh, we're going to get you all this money by your manager, and we're going to get this. Well, yeah, you know what? It probably kicked you right dead square in the ass because you probably were making too much money for a gatekeeper.
Speaking of making money, in the scheme of things, how important is it that companies like Gatorade and Nike sponsor John Jones?
I think it's going to be, it just proves more and more that it's basically, the mixed martial arts is mainstream. Mainstream is here to stay. If companies like this and ESPN and places like this are standing behind mixed martial arts, it's going to be here for a long time, and it proves that it's mainstream.
I think it's great. I mean, there was complaining not that far back about what the fighters made. Well, this is another stream of income. You can't complain about it. If you get big enough, you get Nike and you get, all these other companies, Gatorade, Powerade, Rockstar. There's millions of companies out there.
Adidas is getting involved.
Absolutely. Any of the, Reebok, any of the shoe companies, anything you can get your name tied to. And hey, it's going more mainstream, another revenue stream. I think it's a great thing.
I agree.
Well, we'll have our local thoughts coming up next on 101sports.com.